Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on how to use gratitude to build and strengthen relationships with your donors and supporters. Thank you very much, Marcella, for the intro. My name is Ephraim Gopin, and I'll be presenting this webinar. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and of course, thank you to Charity How To for hosting me. Just a little bit about me. I've been in the nonprofit sector for 2 decades, worn all the hats from CEO on down. I've made a career out of combining fundraising and marketing to help nonprofits build more relationships, raise more money, service more people, and have more impact in the community. I've had a chance to see how what we're going to talk about today, building relationships and using gratitude to build those relationships, has helped create greater impact in the community, and that's what we're going to be learning about today. So before we get started, I just want to do a quick poll that I'm going to launch in 1 second. Just 1 sec, please. Is it here? It should be here. There it is. Launch it. Okay. Sorry about that. Just curious, how quickly do you think donors, after a donation comes in, and I'm not talking about an immediate email, let's say that comes in, you know, an online donation, but I'd be interested to see how quickly is your organization thanking your donors? And we've got a whole bunch of votes coming in. Within 48 hours, it's good. Within a week, okay. Just gonna wait a couple more seconds, let some more people have a chance to vote in the poll. Okay, we'll close it out in another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you very much, everybody. And I will, of course, share the results right now. So we've got about a third of you doing it within 48 hours, half of you within a week, and then about 20% doing it at a later date. So what we're going to discuss today is using gratitude to help you build relationships, and we're going to discuss immediacy and why it's very important to get those thank yous out as quickly as possible. So what are we going to cover today? We're going to cover how to understand your donors, who they are. We're going to understand how to say a proper thank you and build relationships with them. Then we'll look at how to increase retention through proper gratitude, how to thank new email subscribers, which is something that you may not think of them as donors or supporters, but they are, and we'll discuss that. How to use video to say thank you. That's one way you can say thank you besides a letter or email. We're going to discuss how to use the phone to say thank you. We're going to discuss how to make use of those elementary school cursive writing lessons, for those of you who remember doing cursive way back when in school. And we'll do a fourth example of showing gratitude outside of a letter or email, how to show gratitude on your website to your donors. And then I'm going to give everybody who's here on the webinar, I'm going to give you a challenge that you can perform at your organization when we're done. So let's get started. And we'll discuss first how to understand your donors. So let's talk the most basic thing. What is fundraising all about? And it's not about the money. And it's not about your bottom line at your organization. It's about 2 words: building relationships. You are building relationships with your donors and with your supporters, and that keeps them learning about what's happening in their community, how they're impacting the community, how they're solving a problem. And year over year, you retain them as donors and they stick around, and obviously lifetime value goes up. So this entire webinar is going to discuss those 2 words, building relationships. If we're going to discuss building relationships, we need to understand really why do donors give, and I've outlined 6 reasons on this slide. Number 1, they want to be problem solvers. Donors want to solve a problem in their community. Let's take a case of homelessness. Homelessness exists in every state, every region, every city, every community. The average person may not know how to help people who are homeless. They don't know what they need. So what do? They're looking for your organization who has an expertise in that area, and through your organization, they're going to help the homeless people in their community. So donors want to be problem solvers. They may not know how to do it on their own, so they're going to use you. They're going to do it through your organization. Number 2, people want to do good in the world. They want to do good. It's very simple. It's very basic, but that's why donors give donation. It not main reason, may not be the main reason, but it is a reason for their giving. It does give them that good feeling. It makes the world a better place, and we all want to leave the world better than how we found it. So that's another reason why they give. People also want to connect to a larger community of do-gooders. So you build this community of donors who are giving, they want to be part of that. They see people like them giving donations, they want to be part of that community as well. And finally, shared values. Your organization has certain values that are important to you. Your goal is to find donors who share those exact same values. Connect with them that way, build a relationship through those shared values, and that at the end of the day will help donors decide to become a donor to your organization. So now we've discussed why they give. Let's discuss how to say a proper thank you and excuse me, and how to build relationships with your donors. So I want to start here with a quote of what I call having a gratitude attitude. And this is from Beth Ann Locke, who's the chief spark at thefundraisercoach.com. And here's what she says: it's not the size of the gift that matters, it's the act of giving. And that's a very important distinction to remember. I'd like you all, after we're done, to go look at your thank you letters or emails. Does it open with thank you for your donation of $100? Because if it does, you need to change it immediately. If it opens that way, then you're saying thank you based on the gift, on the generousness of the donor. That's not what you want. You want your thank yous and your gratitude to be on the act of giving. So even if all they gave was $1, it's their generosity that you want to stress. Again, you're making them feel good because now they feel that they are a generous person. But it's not the size of the gift, and that's very important to know when you're building a relationship with a donor, because again, a $10 donor one day could turn into $10,000. If your attitude is, well, they only gave $10, so then you're not going to retain them. You're not going to build a relationship with them. So always make sure that your gratitude comes down to generosity, the act of giving itself. Let's talk now how to build a relationship through a proper thank you. What has to go into a thank you? First of all, personalization is critical. This is a one-to-one conversation. If they gave online, if they gave by a check, or they filled in a reply slip in your direct mail appeal, you have their first name. Address them by their first name. Dear Frank, thank you, Frank. And this way, it's personalized and they feel that you see them, that you know who they are as a donor. Number two, timely. And that's why I asked the poll before. I wanted to see how quickly people give. And I just want to share with you a quick stat from McConkey Johnston International. Thanking your donors quickly makes donors 4 times more likely to give again. 4 times more likely. And we're going to get into that in a second, why that number is so important. So you want your thank yous to always be timely, as quickly as possible. In your thank yous, very important, more you, less us. You want to stress the donor and what they're doing to solve a problem in the community. It's less us, the organization, and what we're doing. At the end of the day, it's the donor who's solving that problem. You have the expertise and the knowledge and the experience to make it happen, and the donor doesn't. But at the end of the day, it's that donor who's solving that problem in the community. Your thank you has to stress that. And you want a good thank you that's going to stand out and going to be memorable to them. And I will get to that in a second as to why that's very important. Additionally, you can have a little fun with your thank yous, and I'm going to show you an example or two of that a bit later. Yes, you should keep it serious, but you can have a little bit of fun, especially via email. Storytelling. In a good thank you, you want to tell a story. And what kind of a story do you want to tell? What I call the story of one. You want to tell about one service recipient who has been the recipient of the donor's kindness. So the donor gave for program X. Here's a person in that program who, because of this donation, now has a backpack to be able to go to school, now has food, now has clothes, now has shelter, whatever it is that your organization does. So storytelling plays a central role in a good thank you. Within that thank you, you also want to demonstrate impact. As I just said, you want to say, how is the donation used? Well, if you ask them for $100 for X, tell them this is how your donation was used, so they know that you as an organization have taken them seriously and you're using it you're using it based on what they wanted. How did the donor solve a problem, right? let them know that they've accomplished something. They gave money, here's the impact, here's what happened on the ground. And the last thing, and I go back to another statement of Beth Ann Locke, remove space between the donor and the recipient. And I go back to the storytelling story of one. Connect the donor to the service recipient, to one specific person that they are helping. No space between them, so that the donor can see, I gave X, I was able to help person Y. And by getting rid of that space between the two, you build a relationship with that donor who now sees the good that they are doing in the world. So now that we've seen that, how do we increase retention through proper gratitude? And I want to start with this statement from Dr. Adrian Sargent, who has done a ton of research into this specific topic of gratitude. And this is the most important slide in this entire presentation because it is going to dictate the way you do gratitude at your organization. And I quote, "The thank you is the single most important piece of communication your donors get. They have a higher recall of it than the appeal that generated the gift." We're in August right now. You may be working on your year-end appeal. I hope you're working on it, and you're going to send it out. And I know you're putting in hours and hours and hours of work, and plenty of people are editing it and fixing it, and you're working with the printer and a graphic designer. I get it. At the end of the day, after you've sent out that appeal, any donor who responded to that appeal, they will remember the thank you that they got more than they're going to remember the actual appeal you worked on. And if they have a higher recall, meaning if the if the thank you was memorable to them, there's a better chance of them sticking around, your retention goes up, and higher lifetime value. It's a great way to build the relationship. When you don't tell them in the thank you letter how they helped, or the thank you that you send isn't memorable, they may feel that you don't appreciate their donation, and that's going to hurt your retention. Why say thank you? And I'm going to give you two numbers. Number one are these two right here, the yuck. 45%, that's the average sector donor retention rate. So if in 2020, I know a lot of organizations, and I'm hoping a lot of you out there, got plenty of new donors. If you got 100 new donors, only 45 of them are sticking around. You lost 55, and now you're chasing your tail to go find new ones to bring in, to recoup those losses from 2020, from all that money you got in. The second number is even worse. First-time donors, the average retention rate is only 18 to 20%. That's horrible. That means you're getting a new donor, and then they're not sticking around 80% of the time. One of the ways to get them to stick around is proper thank you, proper gratitude, building relationships. When you do that, you will have higher retention rates and you will have a higher lifetime value. And one of the ways to do that is your first-time donors or an ongoing donor. Always remember that their donation is not an end. It's only the beginning of it's either building the relationship because they're a first-time donor or strengthening the relationship with your current donors. But every donation should be seen as a beginning, not an end, and that will help guide you into showing proper gratitude to your donors. So again, the donor retention rates right now in the sector are not great at all. Proper gratitude can prop up those numbers big time. And now think about what that means for you bringing in revenue and then taking that and servicing more people, having more programs, and creating more impact in the community. So one group of people you may not have thought that you should be thanking profusely are new email subscribers. I come to your website and I sign up for your e-newsletter. Now, some of you may have an inbox that is, well, I'll call a nuclear disaster zone, right? Thousands of emails. And maybe the last thing you want is to sign up for another email. You can't take another email into your inbox. Think about people who are signing up for your newsletter. They're exactly the same as you. They may have inbox zero, they may have 50 emails in their inbox, whatever it is. The fact that they signed up is not a given. So once they sign up, you want to show them proper gratitude. And what's your end game here? Eventually, you're going to convert subscribers into donors. So let's take a quick look how you can thank your new email subscribers, show them proper gratitude. You should be thanking them immediately on your website. So after I click subscribe, I should either get a pop-up message, or let's say you take them to a landing page. And if you can, use a great image in that thank you on your site. This image that you can see here is from the San Francisco Ballet. It's a great backstage scene. It's just a great picture, a great image. It captures my attention. These are two pop-ups that I got when I signed up. The one on the left is from Teach for America, and I happen to love the image. On the right is a big, huge thanks showing proper gratitude, and it's from the Environmental Defense Fund. You can see in the upper right, the white polar bear. It's a great image. So that's if you think on site. These are just pop-up messages, but it immediately says to the new subscriber, thank you. Thank you for subscribing. The next thing you want to do, though, is send a welcome email. Don't give up on that. You absolutely should. It is the first thing in building a relationship with that subscriber. I subscribed, email in my inbox, and it starts building the relationship from email number one. Why should you send emails? Well, I'm going to give you the data from Inbox Army. Welcome emails generate 4 times the open rate and 5 times the click-through rate of a standard email marketing campaign. More people are going to open that email, more people are going to click. So if in that email you offer them a video to watch or maybe download an ebook or do something else, you're going to have higher click-through rates on that. And that builds the relationship with your new subscribers. Now I learn a little bit about the organization. Let's quickly talk about what that welcome email should include. It should come immediately to the inbox right away. Number 2, it should be mobile friendly. Think about how you read emails on your phone. The average person looks at an email on their phone for about 5 to 10 seconds. If the email isn't optimized for mobile, meaning it doesn't look good on the mobile screen, 80% of people will delete it and 30% are going to unsubscribe. You just got them to subscribe. If the email doesn't look good on their phone, 1/3 of them are going to unsubscribe right away. Not what you want. That welcome email should also tell you a little bit about the organization. This is from No Panic in the UK. There's a great image here. And here they just have their mission statement and what they do at the top of their email. So they start building that relationship and letting you know the story and what that organization does. You want the tone to be warm and friendly, and you want to make sure you set expectations. You can see here from the Franklin D. Roosevelt for Freedom's Park, expect monthly newsletters. You let them know how often you're going to be connecting with them via email. Provide some kind of benefit for subscribing, as I mentioned earlier, maybe an ebook to download or a video to watch. Make sure you have your social media icons at the bottom of all your emails. That is a great way to build relationships because, again, you're not just building relationships via an email or via a letter, direct mail appeal. You can build relationships off of Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. So make sure those icons are there. And obviously, if you've asked your new subscribers for their first name, personalize that email. Again, it's building right from the start, that one-to-one connection, that one-to-one relationship. And I will stress this, and please, if you do this, don't do it again. Don't ask for a donation in your welcome email, in your new subscriber welcome emails. As Julie Cooper, who is a fundraising and copywriting expert, says, you wouldn't ask somebody for their hand in marriage on the first date. Don't ask for a donation in the first email. Save the Children does that right here in their PS. It's not great. So avoid it. I'm going to stop because I have 4 methods that I want you to try, that I want to introduce you to say thank you to your donors. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run a quick poll here. And I'd appreciate if you could answer me in the chat. Do you say thank you to your donors only via letters and email, or do you use a different method as well? And if you can just put in the questions chat, if you can just put in if you're using other methods besides a letter or an email, I'd love to see what you're doing. I see phone calls, that's good. Video, good. Phone calls, I saw that from Yolanda. Tracy, I see you're doing phone calls to new donors, that's great. Stephanie, good about experimenting with video. Just one second, I'm looking for more. Oh, fantastic. I see social media posts, thank you, Mayra. I see text, that's good, Michael. Excellent. So I see that a lot of you are using different methods. That's good. Besides email and letters, I'm going to give you 4 different ways for you to use, for you to show gratitude to your donors, ways you might be doing, might not be doing, but I'm going to give you a whole bunch of ideas now that you can try with your organization to say gratitude. So let's talk about video. That's the first one. Everybody's got a cell phone. Simple to just, you do not need, but you really don't need to. What you do want to do though is you want to personalize the video. Hey Matt, hey Laura, thank you for your donation. So that again, you're seeing the donor and you're giving them a shout out by name. You have their name, use it. And I go back to what we started with about storytelling. Tell the story of one. Tell them in this video who they've helped, what they've done with their donation. Now on the right here, I actually took an example of a Steven Spielberg production. I don't know, some of you may remember this. This is from about a decade ago. Bowling Green University built a new basketball stadium with donations. They had a big capital campaign, and they created a great video. It was actually called the Stroh Center Rap, which some students at Bowling Green created to say thank you to their donors. It was great. And again, like I said, it was a Spielberg-esque type production. You don't need to. You can just use your phone. Here are some other ideas you can do with video. Have a message from the CEO or the staff member, whoever's the connection to that donor. Let them get in front of the camera and say thank you. If you can, this is a great one. Have a service recipient say thank you. I go back to, don't have any space. Remove space between the donor and the service recipients. Get a service recipient to say thank you so the donor can actually see who they're helping. And that builds the relationship between them, the organization, and the people in their community. And here's a fun idea that I saw via email. One organization, this is specifically for first-time donors. They send an email to the donor saying thank you, and they add a GIF in the email of the CEO doing their happy dance. Now, again, that may seem a little silly, but you know what? It puts a smile on the donor's face to see the CEO is so happy that they're a first-time donor. It's a great idea. You can do it if you want to just use, if you want to do a staff message. I've seen thank yous where the staff just gets together in a room, everybody's wearing party hats, they throw some confetti in the air and they say, thank you, Myra, for being a donor. And you know, that's a great way also to just say thank you, a simple video to say thank you. Now on the right here, you'll see that I've taken a screenshot of part of an email that a friend of mine got. His name's Robert. He's an alumnus of Illinois State University. Illinois State University had a giving day for alumnus. And what they did is he gave, and then he got this in his email, and it was called the Birds Give Back campaign. And they asked him to click and watch his video. This was sent via email, and he did. And I'm going to tell you very quickly what the email was. At the beginning of the video was a current student in Illinois State saying, hi, Robert, thank you so much for answering our call for Alumnus Giving Day, for Alumni Giving Day. Then it went into a video that they had produced, which was the same for every single donor, about a minute, minute and a half long. It was a great video. And then a different student saying, Robert, we're so glad. Thank you for all you do for us, for me, for the students, because part of the money they raised was for scholarships. So again, it's personalized to Robert. It's a great video. And they've removed the space between the donor, Robert, and the service recipients, those students who were speaking in the video. So video is an excellent way to connect with your donors, build relationships with them. So let's talk about using the phone. We may have forgotten that we can actually use it to thank our donors, but it's a great way to do it. So I apologize for the way it was a tweet and I had to divide it into three. I'll get to that in a second, but I want to start on the left here. I'm going to start with the 90-day rule. And this comes from Bloomerang. Calling a first-time donor once or more within 90 days of their first-time donation increases retention rate by up to 58% and nearly doubles the amount of the second gift. Who doesn't want that? Pick up the phone, call your first-time donors. I call it up here, dial a smile. Simply call them and say, thank you, you're awesome. You'll retain more donors, you're gonna get a higher second gift. You have their names, personalize that phone call. Say, hi, Adam, thanks for donating. It's one-to-one communication. Again, you're building the relationship, it's a connection. It's a relationship, and yeah, you can do it by a phone call. No reason not to. And while you're doing it, here's a little idea for you. Ask the donor, how'd you find out about us? Ask the donor, why did you give to us? Find out what I call their origin story. Because if you get a great story from them about how they found out or about why they like your organization, ask them if you can quote them. because then you can use that in all your fundraising and marketing materials on your website, social media, printed materials, annual reports, you name it. Picture of the donor and their quote, they'll love it, and other people will see, hey, that person's giving, I want to give as well. Finally, get a board member to call. I know your board members are very busy. Get them on the phone calling donors. This is from Penelope Burke. A thank you call from a board member within 24 hours of a donation increases the likelihood of a second gift being 39% larger. Again, it's real simple. Call a donor within 24 hours of their donation. You just up their next gift by 40%. You can do the math on how much that would obviously help the people in your community and your programming and your services. The last thing I want to say is about calling donors, and this comes from research done by Roger Craver. Calling donors generates a 56% increase in first-year retention. Remember, that retention rate is really, really low, and it has a 72% increase in revenue. All the data says calling your donors is going to help retention. It's going to help lifetime value. It's going to help you build relationships. So now I want to show you this example. Adam Clevenger is a fundraising consultant, and on Giving Tuesday, he helps an organization called Second Helpings, and instead of Giving Tuesday, they do Gratitude Tuesday. Okay, and what they're doing with Gratitude Tuesday is they are calling donors all day. And you can see the picture here on the right. They're busy calling donors, and they're talking to their donors and thanking them for donations, not asking for donations. Now here's what happens though. This is the interesting thing. On the left side, they have a whiteboard in the room there, and they are gathering the data as they make phone calls. So here on that day, donors thanked today 286, volunteers recruited as 2, and gifts today is $18,500. They weren't asking for gifts, but by calling the donor to say thank you, they got a gift. So I would say that's a job well done in terms of what they were trying to do with Giving Tuesday. Pick up the phone, call people, they will be happy that you called, and they might even give. So that's using the phone. How about let's use making use of those elementary school cursive writing lessons. And I want to talk about pen, neat paper. And here I want to talk about thank you notes, handwritten. Keep in mind, all day, all we do is type on our phones and on our laptops and our iPads. All we do is type. Give them something different, something that's memorable. Remember, if they remember the thank you, you have a better chance at a higher gift and another gift. Number one, thank you notes are in there. It's something tangible. They have it in their hand. Number two, it's meaningful. It's warm. It gives them those fuzzy feelings. Again, remember, they don't just want to solve problems. They want to feel good. So a thank you note would make them feel good. You personalize it by saying, dear, the name of the donor, and you have it signed, signature by the CEO or staff person. That builds the relationship also. It's another form of one-to-one communication with the donor, and it's not the norm. Keep in mind, they don't always get thank you notes or postcards from other organizations. So I go back to that quote from Dr. Adrian Sargent, make your gratitude and your thank yous memorable. A handwritten thank you note will absolutely stick out in the mind of a donor, and that will help you the next time you want to make an ask. So highly advised. It's a great way to say thank you to donors. And finally, the fourth one I want to share with you is on your website. This is extremely important. You drive traffic to your website. You want people to donate online, which is great. You got to thank them online right there. So I'm going to share with you 3 images that I got from Jonathan Grafsass, who is a fundraising consultant at Flat Earth Direct in Australia. And I'm going to show you 3 different online landing pages or pop-ups that he shared with me. So you want to say a heartfelt thank you, say you're amazing, you're awesome. Those thank yous on your website are another chance to tell a story, tell people the impact, that they made with their donation. Use a photo, capture their attention, and you can include your social media icons or your email sign up in that thank you and allow people to click or to sign up for email or to join you on social media. Again, it just builds the relationship. So the image you're seeing right here on the screen, that's from Guide Dogs Queensland. They actually give you a choice of 3 stories. Now, obviously, I'd prefer there was one story that's tied directly to whatever program I donated to online, but either way, these are great pictures. It connects with me, and I want to find out more about the impact that my donation is having. This thank you is from Food Bank, NSW, and ACT. And I want to point out a couple things. One, it's branded in their color. The top image is great. Number two, notice the verbiage. Thank you for your generosity. I remind you that you say thank you based on their generosity, not their generousness. As Beth Ann Locke, we discussed at the beginning. It's the act of giving that's important. And then they personalize it. You can see right here, it starts with Ash. That was the person who gave the donation. Thank you for giving hope. They talk a little bit about, they say thank you to the donors, but they also reinforce the need of what that food bank is doing. Now, if you look right here to the right of the thank you for your generosity at this picture, that picture says everything you need to know. I can associate food bank and I already understand what they do, who they are. It captures my attention, and now I'm going to want to read the verbiage here. And I'll share with you one more, and this is a video online. So what RSPCA Victoria did is they recorded a less than a minute video. It's got some light music in the background. It's genuine and warm. It's quick to watch for donors. You'll notice that above the video, thank you, Ash. Again, they have personalized, they've added the name of the donor. The video is the same for everybody, but it gives you an idea of what you've just done with your donation. It is a great way to say thank you to donors. So those are just 3 examples of what you can do online. And finally, I'm going to end with a challenge to all of you. I want you to go out and test. So here's what I want you to take: the gratitude test and see if your organization passes. I want you to go online and give a small donation to your organization. Use your name, don't use your name, your choice. Give $5 to your organization online. And then I want you to see what happens. Do you get a really nice thank you pop-up or landing page, or is it just a one-liner that says thanks for your donation, which really isn't that very heartfelt and warm for your donors? See if you get an email. How quickly does that email come into your inbox? And is that email just perfunctory? We received your donation of $25, thank you. Or does it have that warmth, that love, that fuzziness? Does it tell a story? Does it show impact for you as a donor? Test further gratitude. I don't know if you also, maybe you send the letter. How quickly does that letter show up at your house after you've given your donation? The test you're going to do, this is what your donors experience, and this is how they're going to remember you or not. I repeat again what Dr. Adrian Sargent said. If the thank you is memorable, they will give again. They will stay with you longer. You have helped to build that relationship. I'd like all of you to take that test. I know we went a little bit over time. I apologize, but I'm still here. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have on this topic of gratitude, fundraising, and marketing it. If you want, and we don't have time, I won't be able to get to all the questions. If you'd like, you can email me at Ephraim, EPHRAIM, at 1832comms.com. Email me and I'll be happy to answer your question. And one final thing before we get to the questions, you're going to be getting a survey about this webinar, and I'd really appreciate if you could just take a minute to complete it. It's easy, it's super helpful for Charity How To and for me. I love getting feedback. I want to know what you thought about the webinar, so if you could fill in that survey, that would be great. I'm going to be looking I'm going to just look here. If anybody has any questions, I would be more than happy to take them. I'm opening up the questions now. If you have a question, just put it in the questions chat there, and I will. I'll be happy to answer.
So I can see a couple coming in. Do you want me to read them to you?
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah, because hold on one second, Marcella. Where are they, in the chat or in the questions?
No, questions box.
Right, so I, for some reason, don't see them. Yeah, if you could read them to me, I would be more than happy to answer.
Okay, wonderful. So let's start with Melissa says, would you call new donors if their first gift was to an event like a walk?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because again, the data shows, thank you for the question, the data shows that a phone call helps. And again, if the whole point is to build relationships, if they took the time to join an event such as a walk, let's say, and they've walked 5 kilometers for your organization, don't just send an email. Reach out with a phone call, send a video, whatever it is, build that relationship. Absolutely.
Great. Janine asks, our nonprofit develops video resources. We have no way to knowing, of knowing who sees them or what the stories are. Now what?
First of all, hi Janine, thanks for the question. Are you moving people towards, let's say, email, towards signing up for your email? Are you moving people to follow you on social media? That's one of the ways to know is your calls to action, let's say in your videos or whatever you're putting out to people who are watching, get them to take an action. All your marketing materials, all your fundraising materials should have a call to action. So if you're asking them to do something, say sign up for our newsletter, now you have their name. Now you know from that link, they clicked it, they got to your newsletter. So now you know who the person is. So you can then start making that connection, and eventually when they become a donor, you've got their name and you can thank them. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, great. So Anne asks, we are a performing arts venue. What kind of storytelling would you suggest we do?
Hi, Anne. Performing arts. So the storytelling is who's benefiting, who benefits. Now, I'll take the easiest example. If you're a theater, everybody in the community benefits, but you've got staff. You've got stories about staff and how they came into the field of performing arts. There are plenty of stories just there alone, let alone if you're doing performing arts, if you have people who are performing, get their stories as well. You also want to get the stories of people who may be, let's say, season ticket holders. Find out what do they love so much about the arts? What do they love so much about your theater or your organization or your performances? Get that out of them. Share those stories because it will resonate with other people. And somebody who may come to shows every now and then, they'll see, oh, that person's a season ticket holder and I hear their reasoning. I may want to up now and move from going to 2 shows to a season ticket holder. So use those stories of the people who are performing, but also the audience who's watching. I hope that was helpful.
Great. So 3 more questions and then it's time to wrap it up. Stephanie asks, are there specific demographics that appreciate calls and others that do not?
So Stephanie, I'm going to tell you this is all about building relationships. And one of the things that I highly advise is learn more about your donors and find out what method of communication they prefer. There are plenty of donors who only want to talk to you via text. So text them. Some will say phone, some will say Zoom, some will say email, some will say only mail me once a year to my house. But it's one of the things that I think nonprofits don't do often enough. Ask your donors and your supporters, how would you like us as an organization to connect with you? And then you'll know what's the best way. I understand that sometimes generational breakdowns could happen, such as millennials and Gen Z prefer text. I'm Gen X, I would prefer email. It happens to be not a phone call. And maybe older donors, boomers, would prefer a phone call. But the only way for you to know that is to actually ask them. You can do a survey. After they give a donation, you can send them an email and ask them straight out, or even on a phone call. Ask them, do you prefer we not call you again and that we send a text or email? Find out from the donors, and then you've built that relationship even better because now they know you're going to do what they've asked, and now they feel more comfortable with your organization and the relationship they're going to build with you.
Great. Danielle asks, what's the best mechanism for sending videos, texting to their phone number, or if they texting to their phone number if they list it?
Okay, so thanks, Daniel. First of all, I wouldn't text unless they may list their phone number, but I wouldn't necessarily send them a text. Or I would first send them a text and say, we'd like to send you a video. Would you prefer it via text or via email? That's the first thing. Text is very personal. Now, the great thing about text is 90 to 95% of people open up a text message within 3 minutes of getting it. So text is the number one-to-one communication that's out there. Nothing beats it. But it's also very personal, and not everybody wants to give out their phone number, or even if they do, they don't want to get a text. So you should find out from the donor, would you like us to send you something via text or via email? In terms of sending it, email works for sure. You can send it what I would suggest if you're going to do a video is I would send an email with a thumbnail, let them click, go to your website. Again, you drive traffic to your website, more eyeballs on your website, build the relationship, because once they're there and they see that great video thank you that you've given them, they might say, oh, you know what? I want to learn about this program because I'm already on the website. And now you strengthen the connection with them. So I'd send it in an email. But again, if the donor's willing via text, yes, send it via text and make sure, again, the link in the text should go to your website.
Okay, and then last question is from Angela. I don't have a newsletter. How long or short can or should it be? I would like to start one right away.
Oh, Angela, this is right in my wheelhouse. Yes, number one, start it. Number two, how short or long? My suggestion is always on the short side, but I'd like you, Angela, to spend the next day or two, every time you go to your inbox, check and see if you are looking at your emails on your laptop or on your phone, and then see how much time you spend scrolling through emails. That'll tell you, that's like that's obviously a survey of one, I understand, but think about you're the average user. People do not like to scroll infinitely, especially if they're on their phone. So I tell people, if you have a newsletter, you have 20 different things going on, send more frequent newsletters. Don't pile everything into one newsletter. I'm not going to infinite scroll. It's just not going to happen. And what ends up happening is when I see it's too long, I might see the first story, I might see the second, and then I'm going to bounce because, oh my goodness, it's going to take me 10 minutes. As I mentioned in the presentation, the average person looks at their emails for 5 to 10 seconds. Consider how much information a person can learn from your newsletter in 5 to 10 seconds. So I'm always on shorter is better, because you'll have a greater chance of capturing somebody's attention with one good photo, one good headline, one good call to action. Boom, they click, they go to your website, they sign up for something, they volunteer, they donate, they download, they subscribe, whatever you ask them to do, but shorter is better. That doesn't mean you can't use long emails when it's necessary. But I think that, especially if you're starting out, you don't want to pile too much on new subscribers, because they'll end up they won't open it, or they'll just opt out. I hope that helps, Angela.
Wonderful. So then it's time to wrap it up. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Please do complete the survey that Frame was talking about earlier, because your comments always help us improve our content. And this is the first time ever that we have done this webinar. So your comments will be very, very helpful to us. I guess that's it. Please stay safe and healthy, everyone. And we hope to see you soon again on another Charity How To webinar. Thanks, Ephraim. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Goodbye.